Hi everyone, my name is Hanson, and today I will be presenting my research titled Investigation into the Relationship Between Sleep and Exercise and Their Impact on Employee Performance and Job Satisfaction. This study looks at how two key parts of our daily lives, sleep and exercise, might influence how we feel at work and how well we perform. So, the goal of this research was to better understand how physical wellness factors like sleep and exercise relate to outcomes at work. Specifically, I wanted to know, do people who sleep or exercise more feel more satisfied with their jobs? And do they actually perform better at work? By answering these questions, we may we might find ways to support employee well-being at the workplace. So, to help, I developed four hypotheses that can help guide this research. Number one, employees perform better at work when they exercise regularly. Number two, employees perform better at work when they get a good night's sleep. Number three, employees are more satisfied with their jobs if they exercise regularly. And of course, number four, employees who get a good night's sleep are more satisfied with their job. Data sources and sampling method. The data that we went through basically came from a survey that included 487 participants. We then used a convenience sampling method, meaning that we collect responses from people who are available and willing to participate. The study design is a cross-sectional and quantitative method, meaning we collected numerical data at one point in time and analyzed it statistically. Here we see our variable definition table. This table defines the variables that we used in the study. Independent variables were hours of exercise per week and hours of sleep per night, while we see the dependent variables were job performance and job satisfaction, which we refer to here as inclusion. So again, I kind of rolled inclusion or job satisfaction into the inclusion side of things here. And of course, you see here that all the data source here was the survey response that we had sent out, or the survey we'd sent out, and the responses we received. So, quantitative methodology. To test these hypotheses, we use two main methods: correlation analysis and multiple regression analysis. You can see these repeated over and over and over again. The correlation helped us see if there was a relationship between the variables, and the regression helped us to see if sleep and exercise could actually predict performance or job satisfaction, while controlling other factors, right? We also looked at beta coefficients and p-values to understand how strong and significant the results were. And again, I did make a note of, the thresholds and, our significance values here, our statistical significance. So let's go and look at hypothesis number one, right? Basically, a test whether whether employees perform better while they exercise when they exercise regularly. We used regression analysis. We looked at the relationship between hours of exercise per week and self-reported job performance inclusion, while controlling variables like age, gender, and GPA. Right? We then checked the beta coefficient and p-value to determine that the relationship was significant. However, to determine that the relationship was not significant, was statistically not significant based off the p-value, and again, in conclusion, this then meant, surprisingly, that the hypothesis was not supported based off the data, which is surprising. For the second hypothesis, right, employees perform better at work when they get a good night's sleep. we use the same method, right? This time the focus was on the number of hours per sleep per night, and how that related to performance. Again, we used multiple regression analysis, and looked at p-values for significance. Again, we're seeing the same story here, right? The beta coefficient was minus 0.034, was a negative effect, and then we had a p-value that was 0.23, so it's not statistically significant. And the conclusion is then that the hypothesis is not supported. Okay, jumping to hypothesis number 3. Basically test if employees who exercise regularly are more satisfied with their jobs. We'll examine the relationship between exercise and inclusion. Again, using regression analysis with control variables. Here, again, the goal was to see if there was a statistical significance between exercise and job performance. Again, the very same story, right? P-value is 0.33, indicating it's not statistically significant. The beta was 0.0067, right? The conclusion was made that the data does not support our hypothesis. And lastly, hypothesis number 4, we were testing whether employees who sleep more are more satisfied with their jobs. Again, ran the regression analysis with sleep as the independent variable and inclusion as the dependent variable. And honestly found that this one, the p-value is 0.086. It's marginal, it's weak, right? But still not statistically significant, and thus, based off of the beta coefficient p-value, we concluded that the hypothesis number 4 was not supported. So here we see the results, right? The summary basically found that all of our hypotheses were not supported by the data we collected or we surveyed. Hypothesis number 4 in particular was the closest one to being supported. It's marginal. The beta coefficients were small. The p-values were all above 0.05. So we did not find support for any of the hypotheses. This suggests that the direct impact of sleep and exercise, job satisfaction, and performance may not be as straightforward as we thought, which is surprising, right? I kind of thought going into this was that we're going to find a direct correlation, but surprisingly we didn't. Now, even though our hypotheses were not supported, the research still tells us something important, right? It does show that there is a relationship between personal wellness and work outcomes. It shows that the relationship between personal wellness and work outcomes might be more complex, right? Maybe there are indirect effects or moderating factors we didn't look at, and this opens up the door for future studies using different methods or larger sample sizes to explore these possibilities. I guess the go forward will be, further research is needed, which is interesting. But that's pretty much what we have here. Again, I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us, and feel free to ask questions. Again, I thank you all and look forward from hearing from you all. Thank you.